Welcome to Celebrity Tastemakers. I'm Lisa Mateo. From the hottest restaurants to local dives, celebrities always know where to eat. And here's your chance to join them. Come along for the ride as our guests share their favorite meal and the chefs that make them teach you the recipe. That's all part of Celebrity Tastemakers, your reservation to food and fame. The next guest on the docket is co-star of the TV series Hot Bench, Judge Patricia DiMango. As the first Italian-American woman to sit on the criminal court bench in New York, she was appointed by America's mayor, Rudolph Giuliani, and continues to make her mark as one of the toughest and fairest to ever wear a robe. We're swearing in the judge and eating with the world's chief justice in the kitchen, Lidia Bastianich. Because our verdict is in, the Honorable Patricia DiMango is guilty of being a tastemaker. Judge Patricia DiMango.
Lisa, it's so nice to see you.
You too, from the hot bench to the hot seat.
Now I'm concerned if I'm in a hot seat.
Where are we going today?
Felidia's restaurant, and we're going to have barolo tagliatelle. On top are shaved black truffle, and it is one of the best pastas I've ever had.
Let's go.
All right.
Are you as judgmental about food and restaurants as you are about the cases that you tried?
I'm judgmental about food and restaurants, but I'm not judgmental on the bench. It's not for me to think of you as a good or a bad person. It's for me to decide in some instances whether or not you've committed the crime you're charged with, if the jury establishes that you have, how, in fact, I think you should be punished for it, if at all.
You once said that life can change in an instant. And for you, it did with a phone call from Judge Giuliani for Hot Bench. What made you decide to change from one bench to another?
When Judy offered me this opportunity, there was no way I could have said no to it. And there's no way I wanted to say no to it. Like I said, your life can change in an instant. And in my case, it changed with a phone call from Judge DiMango. And she went on to tell me how she's putting together this new show, Hot Bench, and that she had been looking for an East Coast judge, and that she said, I still have friends in New York, and I called and I asked, and I said, I'm looking for someone like me, only younger, and they gave me your name. Would you be interested in doing television? And I auditioned. Many, many months later, I got a phone call from her saying, pack your bags, you're going to LA.
That has to be a difficult decision because it's a lifetime of job security that you're giving up for television.
I couldn't sleep for nights. Even though I knew I was going to do it, I asked my father, you know, I spoke to my parents,
of course.
And my father said, she won't fail. Don't even think twice about it, which made me feel better too. And then it's just been an amazing journey.
Now, on Hot Bench, you're a lawyer, a judge, a jury, different from how you served in New York.
Different because we don't do the same kind of cases. In New York, attorneys can waive juries in front of judges, and so you can have a non-jury trial, it's a judge trial. But more often than not on the show, you're almost in the capacity of an attorney because you're asking questions, but you're not asking them in an attempt to bring out a particular viewpoint because you have to be neutral as a judge. And so what you're really trying to do on both benches is elicit facts that will be helpful in making a fair decision.
You share the bench with Tanya Acker and Larry Bachman.
Correct.
How do you make that chemistry work with three people?
You know, it starts off, you don't know one another.
Right.
And then at some point, you get a sense of who the person is, what your likes and dislikes are, and you develop a camaraderie on the bench, even if it doesn't take you socially outside. But in there, you have this interaction with one another that sort of works.
Behind the scenes, too.
That's the unique idea that Judge DiMango had, which was that we would then be deliberating. The public seems to just love that. And even when I walk the streets or in a restaurant and someone stops me, they say, we love listening to you in chambers. We love when you argue with one another. We love this. And we're so surprised at how much they've picked up on the deliberation process.
You were judge for 19 years, sometimes presided over 30 to 70 cases a day. Was it hard not to take the job home with you?
Literally, I took work home because I did have to work at home,
right.
But I think you're talking more in the emotional sense. And yes, not on every case, but on many cases, especially those involving homicides or mostly with children, abused children, beaten children. Now that I'm out of it, every once in a while I say, oh my God, how did I do that day after day and year after year? You just have to step back and detach, Lisa, you do.
You once described yourself as the Mariano Rivera of the court system, and that's not because Enter Sandman was playing as you left your chambers.
No, that's true. It was not. There was no humming or singing.
Yeah.
They had all these cases that were languishing in the court system and were sitting around, and They wanted me to close them out. So I stepped up to the plate, and there I was.
In your first 6 months in the Bronx, there were 700 settlements done just like that by you.
And I appreciate you using the word settlement because in truth, like people always say plea bargaining, as though it's like some sort of sin. But I think what the public doesn't recognize, a settlement really reaches a resolution that's fair to both sides, that's fair to the public, and will give the public confidence in the court system, but also is balancing the strengths and the weaknesses of a case. I mean, every case does not have a smoking gun. So yeah, we settled a lot of cases and we moved them along with the consent of the district attorney, the consent of the defense counsel, the consent of the DA, and obviously with the consent and efforts of the bench.
What song would be playing as you left your chambers?
That's a great question. And now I'm going to start to think about that.
Answer only the question that was asked. That was printed on a piece of paper, taped right to your bench.
I forgot about that.
Was there ever an answer that you received after all these years that still sticks in your head?
It wasn't so much that the answer wasn't good, it was just totally non-responsive because they want to let you know what they want to tell you, avoiding answering the question that you want the answer to. And oftentimes you're asking a question and they think they know the reason for it, so they want to give you something else, but meanwhile you're asking it for a whole nother purpose. You know, I always had them come up to the bench. I loved working with the lawyers on all sides. And when they would come up, I'd go, just answer the question. And then one day somebody said, you know, you have a note up here. I go, what does it say? They said, it says, just answer the question. I go, leave it there.
What movie has come the closest to capturing the experience of a trial?
You know, I love My Cousin Vinny. I was teaching college for a lot of years, and I would use that as an instructional movie.
In your lessons.
Because it pretty much takes you through the arrest, the arraignment, don't make a statement, did you get your rights, the jury trial. You know, there's some little, you know, things that are not accurate, but how many things are? And it's funny, and the kids love it. And it really does reflect, you know, pretty much how a case goes through the court system in a very entertaining way.
How about on TV?
Law and Order. I love Blue Bloods, Boston Legal.
Okay.
I like all those shows.
Do you ever sit there and you're like, that doesn't happen?
Yes, I do say that, but you know, I know it's not real. It's more difficult to do that if you're watching a real trial. Those I don't enjoy as much because there I do want to second guess what's happening.
Different things you like to do. Play racquetball, golf, cook.
That's one of the most relaxing and also beneficial things I could do for myself.
So what's better, cooking or eating?
When Lydia's cooking, there is no question. I want to be eating.